All right. All right. Well, of course, it is a pleasure and a joy to be here to talk with you. And we want to talk to you, part of you and your community together, about the conditions and the circumstances of what seems to be going on in your world of late. You know, it's been many years as we've talked of the turmoil of your world. We often don't detail it because you are so aware of the nuances of what's happening and the troubles and the difficulties. But we talk of the turmoil of your world and how the turbulence and the violence is now increasing in intensity and deepening in its expression, changing the very nature of the turbulence, changing the very nature of the violence, the tragic violence that increasingly happens in the world, reaching a farther and with greater scope. And we've talked of the underlying energies of the crises of dignity, of character, of vision and vitality, the core crises of humankind, so present in the turbulence, so sadly present in the violence. And we've also talked of what we call, or are likened to, a riptide, the undercurrents, that of a lack of vision and the waning of wisdom, the collapse of imagination replaced with the polarization in your world, not just in your country, but in your world, that collapse of imagination, the drought of new dreams, as well as the alienation, the lack of dignity, the tremendous sense of not belonging, along with the dogma that is increasingly replacing dialogue. And out of it all, in the mix of it all, the riptide of the lack of compassion and the increasing lack of that compassion, generating a world of crisis in your nation, in your countries, throughout the world, and crises in your life as well. A world is becoming new. That's wonderful, that's exciting, but living through it can be daunting, to say the very least. Crises, changes, coming so quickly, so rapidly, that you can't handle them, you can't process them and assimilate them. Demands out of those changes and demands in the world beyond, coming again with such a rapid fire that you can't process them, you can't assimilate them, you don't know how to respond. And the daily routine disrupted. And to combine with all this, the old ways of handling things, the old ways of dealing with the changes and the demands, don't seem to be working anymore. Crises in your world, crises in your lives. But of late, those crises have changed. The chaos has shifted. As we say, the chaos has become fierce chaos, furious chaos. And the reason for that, the reason that it has become so, is a combination of energies flowing together, in a sense a confluence, perhaps set in motion by the very crises themselves, set in motion by the very turbulence and the violence itself. But added to that, there have been of late particularly, and there will be again, influxes or surges of electromagnetic energy. Now, electromagnetic energy and surges of electromagnetic energy are nothing new. We talked of them perhaps first almost 25 years ago. That with these surges of electromagnetic energy, they are part of the evolutionary process. They are part of a world becoming new. Such electromagnetics is necessary for the evolution of the human brain, the evolution of your brain. Your brain is electromagnetic, functioning with the electromagnetics flowing along the neurons and zapping across the synapses, etc. And those neural pathways need to be changed. Those neural pathways, some of them need to be, quote, blown out. Others of them need to be activated. Various things that are going on. And the electromagnetic energy, the surges of electromagnetic energy, sometimes coming from solar flares and float, but sometimes just seeming to come out of nowhere, are necessary for the realignment, if you will, the rearrangement, the reconfiguration of the human brain in the evolutionary process. Such electromagnetics are necessary for human evolution, for the evolution of consciousness. And those electromagnetic energy in your world, in the consciousness of a world becoming new, destined now actually becoming new. Those electromagnetic energy are essential. Without them, you wouldn't be able to do what you are destined to do in the loving, in the healing, in the dreaming, and in the working of magic, to found, to bring into your reality and the reality of the world a new world. But you see, those electromagnetic energies, particularly in a duality of your world, also have their negative expressions. And when those energies are not absorbed, when those energies are not harnessed and absorbed, they can wreak havoc. As we talked more than 25 years ago, or almost 25 years ago, with those influxes, with those surges, with those bursts of electromagnetic energy, tectonic activities such as earthquakes and volcanoes, greater winds, greater water, greater fire, greater disruptions to the earth, greater storms of all kinds on a physical level, on an emotional, mental level, storms of the mind and storms of the heart, if you will, surges of emotion, erratic thought. Out of that violence, surges and bursts of violence for, quote, no apparent reason, no motivation at all. Of late you've experienced such. 2 earthquakes in Mexico of massive intent, of massive damage. Not just the normal shaking along the fault lines, but significant major earthquakes. And of course, the hurricanes in Texas, Louisiana, Florida, across the Caribbean, noted most right recently in Puerto Rico. And of course, the flooding that's happening in Europe and in other places in the States, certainly so, with the hurricanes and otherwise. And of course, the fires. The fires that those here in the United States are very familiar with, most familiar in California, but throughout the States and throughout the world, the California fires of recent times, such fury. But fires also, with equal or greater fury in Europe, in Portugal now, and in other places as well, not as severe. But these bursts of firestorms and water storms and air storms that came all so once, all within such short order, they're a function of normal weather, augmented by, yes, climate change, but also triggered and augmented by the surge of electromagnetic energy. You see, and out of this, the chaos has become fierce. The chaos has become furious. And in the fury, these storms. And, of course, the violence at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. A different kind of violence, a different depth of violence, with motivation seeming to come out of nowhere. Impacted, influenced, not caused by the weather, not caused by the electromagnetics, but increased by it, with its intensity, with its fury. And the violence likewise, not caused by the electromagnetics, but with the erratic of emotional and mental state of being, certainly augmenting that violence. Furious, fierce violence of a different nature. And in all of this fury, in all of this fierce and furious chaos, fear, of course, but the fear is also furious and fierce fear. And what do people do with fear? They get angry, and therefore a fierce and furious anger emerges out of this energy. And there is also, and what we want to focus upon, there is pain. Yes, those who were caught up in the fury of earthquakes and hurricanes and fires. Certainly, fierce anger, fierce fear, but fierce pain. A pain other than hurt, deeper than hurt. Pain, raw pain, felt in them, but felt by their soul, by their soul. And also people who didn't participate, weren't there, but were aware. You feel the pain of those fires, no matter where you live. You feel the pain of what's going on in Houston and going on in Louisiana and what's going on in Florida and in Puerto Rico. You felt the pain and still feel the pain in Las Vegas. The pain. Intense and unattended. It lifts into fear and anger. And the fears and angers, already fierce and furious, become more fierce and more furious and more outlaying and damaging. Pain, unattended, descends into loneliness, alienation, loneliness, and eventually despair. There is unattended pain out there. Now, you take the weather shifts coming out of climate change. You take the weather shifts with the electromagnetic surges, and you take the pain that comes from it. The pain creates more chaos. The chaos creates more pain. The electromagnetics intensify the pain. The electromagnetics intensify the flows of energy, the chaos itself. Chaos heightens, pain heightens. Electromagnetics augment it all. More pain, more chaos, more pain, more chaos. And there's a fury to it. And there's an avalanching energy to it. And people are feeling the pain. And people are slipping into the alienation and the loneliness and the despair. And it's there in you. You feel the pain, your pain. Your soul feels the pain. And you feel the pain out there in the world. And it's perpetuating itself. You see, after all these things, the hurricanes and the fear, immediately the conspiracy theorists came out with all their theories. These are different fires than have ever been. Yes, they are different. Because of the electromagnetics and because of climate change, they are different than other fires have been. But they're not different because of the Illuminati. They're not different because the government. They're not different because real estate is. They're not different because of the them, the ubiquitous them, the ubiquitous they who are doing this to us. It's not a conspiracy. It is a normal function that has been augmented with electromagnetics and with pain. And with pain. The pain has augmented these issues. Those fires were furious because of the pain and the electromagnetics and the climate change and the chaos now perpetuating themselves. It needs to be understood and valued, the electromagnetics, understood and valued the pain, so that you can harness and change, so that you can break this chain reaction, so that you, as a masterful magician and map maker, can figure out how to respond, what to do, and how to be responsible in the birthing of a world becoming new, in dealing with the chaos and the destruction. You see, you are in the destructive phase of the creation, maintenance, and destruction to create something new. You're in the chaos that precedes change. This is a big change, people. A world becoming new. Humanity, human consciousness evolving. It's not a change and a chaos that's going to end in weeks or months or even in a few years. But it needs to be understood. It needs to be valued. And it needs to be harnessed and absorbed. So we want to suggest and encourage you to work your magic, to heal pain. First your own. And it begins with the basics, doesn't it? To recognize, yeah, I'm in pain. It hurts. To recognize, yeah, it hurts. Pain hurts. But to recognize your pain, to acknowledge it, to forgive yourself, but to then work to heal your pain, to change by healing. And we suggest a very broad sweeping method for you then to personalize and individualize. Recognize, acknowledge, forgive, and decide to change by healing. And then absorb your pain. Feel it. Feel it. Feel your pain. And as you feel it, give it dimension. Give it dimension. How long? How wide? How deep? Give it shape. Give it a shape, a geometric shape. One that you recognize or don't know the name of, but give it a shape. Maybe a sphere, maybe a square, maybe rectangle, rhombus, parallelogram, maybe some multi-sided geometric. Give it shape. Here's my pain. I'm feeling it, and I'm drawing it together into a shape. And give that shape color and light. What's the color of your pain? What's the light that emanates from your pain? Maybe not a pretty light, it's not a beautiful one, but it's light, color and light. And give it sound. Listen to your pain. What's it sound like? Does it scream with a high piercing sound? Or does it moan with a deep? Or does it loud or soft? Listen. The sight, shape, shadow, color, light. The sound. What's the scent of safety? What's the scent of pain? What does your pain smell like? Is it a nauseating pain? A smell? What's it smell like? Is it very subtle? Maybe it doesn't have smell. But give it and touch it. Touch it. And taste. Does your pain taste like something familiar? Or does it just taste acidy or bad or whatever? Give it dimension. Familiar senses, sight, sound, scent, touch, and taste. And now give this to your higher self, your soul. Or maybe the three of you. Give it to God, Goddess, all that is. Give your pain to the divine in you and to God, Goddess, all that is, the divine in you as well. Then turn away. Maybe end your meditation for the day and allow the magic, the commerce of magic beyond your view. Allow God, Goddess, all that is, your higher self and soul, the divinity. Allow it to transmute your pain, to transform it into love. At the opposite end of the continuum of pain, pain, less pain, less pain, less pain, discomfort, whatever you on the continuum, at the opposite end of this continuum is love. Is love. So let it be transmuted and transformed into love. Goddess will give it to your soul and higher self, who will in turn give it to you. What's the shape of love? What's the light? The color? What's the smell? What does love smell like? And what's the sound? Listen to love. Touch it. Taste it. And then absorb it. Fill the void, fill the space that was pain with more love. You've already got love. You've got the receptors for love. Just let it in. Just let it fill the space vacated by pain. Work with healing your pain. And then work with healing pain in the world. Now, if you work with pain in the world and you're working with individuals, people that you know who have suffered in the hurricanes or the fires or the floods or people that you don't know but saw on the news or however, if you're going to work with individuals and their pain, either familiar or unfamiliar, ask permission. May I heal your pain? Because an individual may need that pain for something that you don't understand or isn't ready to get rid of it. And somehow if you heal their pain, you are disrupting their growth, and yours is not to judge. So you ask permission. Yes, you can heal on another level, obviously. You ask permission in meditation. And if they say yes, proceed. Now, if you're working generally, I want to heal the pain of that fire, of those in that fire. But there's not individual. Because you see, all those who feel pain, and they all feel pain. It's there in the air. It's there floating about. You can absorb and heal that pain. That you don't have to ask permission for. But once you've worked yours, be a champion. Be a champion, be a hero, and gather that pain. And give it shape. It's a lot more pain, but it doesn't have to be a bigger geometric. It doesn't have to have a bigger shape. It's a heavier shape. It may be heavier. Maybe you need to gather it on the ground in front of you. Bring it in and put it there for the dense shape, like a, star that's nova, very small but very dense. What's the shape? What's the color? What's the sound? What's the scent? What's the touch? What's the taste? And this, maybe it's too heavy for me to lift the pain of the world, quote unquote. But I can still give it to my higher self and soul and to God, Goddess, all that is. And when they return, the opposite of that continuum, when they return the love, it may be more dense. This is love of the world. I can't lift it, but it has shape and color and sound, sight, sound, scent, touch and taste. And now you can use the electromagnetics to release it, to let it rain love through the air, through the earth, through the fire, the rising sun and moon at night, the stars. That fire, not combustible. And the air. Just sense that, a beautiful pyrotechnic explosion of love. Not a bomb, but an explosion of love. The electromagnetic surge that blows out the circuitry to release the love to that community or just in the world, wherever you gathered it, to return it. Gathered the pain, return the love. Saving the balance. As you take the pain away, returning the energy to balance, the universe, the world to balance with love. Doesn't take as much love to fill the space. Positive energy is far more powerful than the negative. And so we encourage you, at this time when the chaos is so furious, so fierce, and when you feel at times, we've said and we talk about how you're at a pinnacle now, and how you move and where you move is critical. You were at that pinnacle 20 years ago. You're at another pinnacle now, and you will be at other pinnacles in the future. How you move and where you move is critical. But for so many in the world, and for you at times, it feels like this is not a pinnacle. This is some sort of brink of whatever. Devastation, if not destruction. and you feel like you're out of control, and like you're losing grip on your magic, and you don't know what to do, and you don't know how to respond. So we're suggesting, understand what's happening, and in understanding, appreciate and value what's happening. Then you can harness, then you can absorb, then you can handle and respond with healing and with loving. These times, and when the chaos gets fierce again, it undulates. It's not going to stay fierce forever. It gets fierce, it falls away, things get normal, quote unquote, and then it gets fierce again. You can be there to absorb the electromagnetics. You can be there. Oh, how do you absorb the electromagnetics? The easiest way, the most elegant way, is to experience beauty. Experience beauty. Because you see, when you allow yourself to feel joy and fully at peace simultaneously, not joy and then peace, but joy and peace simultaneously, when you allow yourself to feel that exhilaration and the serenity concurrently in the same moment, when you allow the sense of majesty and wonder all at once in a timeless way, and when you allow inspiration to be enchanting, that absorbs the electromagnetics. Also ecstasy. Ecstasy, an expression of beauty, certainly so. Ecstasy is a self-transcendent moment. When you are different in beauty, filled with joy, and fully at peace, somewhat simultaneously, beauty. When you are filled with hope and expectation, fully accepting yourself, valuing yourself. I am valuable, accepting yourself. When you are filled with wonder and awe and fully able to soar, being carefree in that moment. Carefree meaning free of woe and worry and concern and fear. A moment, suspended moment perhaps. And when you are filled with love and fully loved, that's a euphoric moment that feels the oneness, a transmuting, a transforming, a transcendent moment. It absorbs the electromagnetics. And everything seems to glow. You and everything. And you can feel God, Goddess, all that is everywhere. That's ecstasy. And you don't have to wait for it to happen. You don't have to go someplace, to an ecstatic place in the world. You can create it. You can generate it. And in a meditation, when you're dealing with, here's a horrible storm, here's a terrible fire, here's a monsoon flooding more intense than years previous. We haven't seen storms like this. Go there in your meditation and sense the beauty. Or work the magic of ecstasy in the midst of that fire, in the midst of that hurricane, in the midst of that tornado, in the midst of that flooding, raining. Sense the beauty, your beauty, and the beauty of who you are, of what you are. Maybe even the beauty of people helping each other, working together, creating their sense of community, reaching out and being themselves heroes. Or maybe standing there in the midst of this fury and feeling ecstatic, almost as though being this force to neutralize the negative force of the electromagnetics, the negative force of the destructive force of whatever fury you're dealing with. It can be the violence, of upheavals here or there, where people are slaughtering other people. To see the beauty not of the slaughter, but of the human spirit. To feel the ecstasy not of the horror, but of the healing, the harnessing and healing that can come from it. So, suggestions, things to consider, ways to work. We love you. We can never say that enough. We love you. And with that love, we'll close. Thank you.